Have you ever wondered why some people only show up when you're struggling and vanish the moment you start doing well? As we grow older, the need for connection can quietly open the door to emotional manipulation, toxic relationships, and unspoken regrets. But what if those painful patterns could be broken? In this video, we're uncovering 7 powerful truths every older adult needs to hear, truths that can help you protect your peace, reclaim your worth, and live your later years with strength, dignity, and freedom. One insight in particular might just change the way you see your life completely. In the introduction, we posed a painful but important question. Why do some people only show up when you're at your lowest and disappear the moment you're okay again? If that struck a chord, you're not alone. It's something many older adults experience, often without fully understanding why. But here's the truth. As we age, our vulnerability increases not because we're weak, but because we've given so much. We long for connection, and we've learned to value relationships more deeply. And sadly, that deep desire for closeness can attract the wrong kinds of people. Trust is a beautiful thing. It's the foundation of any meaningful connection. But blind trust, especially in your later years, can become dangerous. Why? Because manipulators often seek out those who are emotionally open, generous, and perhaps feeling isolated. They know exactly when to appear, when you're struggling, grieving, recovering, or feeling unseen. They offer sympathy, attention, maybe even companionship, but only temporarily. As soon as you begin to regain your strength or no longer need them, they fade away. It's not a coincidence, it's a pattern. Have you ever noticed how certain people come close only when you're down? They listen, comfort you, maybe even offer help. But once you're back on your feet emotionally, financially, or socially, they're gone. They stop calling. They don't check in. You realize the connection wasn't mutual, it was one-sided, rooted in your vulnerability. This isn't to say that everyone has bad intentions, but sadly some do. Some are drawn to control, others to manipulation. Some people feed off of being needed, not because they care, but because it gives them power. And they know that someone who is lonely, grieving, or feeling abandoned may be less likely to say no. These types of relationships are often subtle. They're not always abusive in the obvious ways. Instead, they show up in quiet moments when you feel guilty for setting a boundary, or anxious that they'll leave if you say no. You find yourself overgiving, over-explaining, over-accommodating just to keep the peace. That's not love. That's emotional control. So what can you do? You don't need to close yourself off to everyone. You don't need to live with suspicion or bitterness. But you do need to develop a more discerning eye. Not everyone deserves your trust. Not everyone has earned a place in your life. It's okay to ask yourself, does this person respect my boundaries? Do they show up only when I'm in need? Do I feel drained or small after spending time with them? The answers to these questions can tell you more than any words ever could. It also helps to remember you don't owe anyone unlimited access to your time, emotions, or support, no matter how long you've known them. Trust is not an automatic gift. It's something people earn through consistency, respect, and care. Building that filter, that quiet strength to protect your peace, is one of the most powerful things you can do in this season of life. Because you deserve relationships that nourish you, not ones that feed off your vulnerability. If you are still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment below to let me know you are here. And if you are not already subscribed, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Your support helps us continue to create content that informs and inspires you. Let this first truth empower you not to shut down, but to become more aware. Trust isn't something to give away freely anymore. It's something to protect, nurture, and offer only to those who have truly earned it. Because your peace, your energy, and your dignity are far too valuable to waste on anyone who doesn't honor them. In the previous section, we explored how trusting the wrong people, especially when you're vulnerable, can quietly erode your peace and emotional well-being. We talked about the power of discernment and how not everyone deserves your trust. But there's another deeply ingrained pattern that many people carry with them into their later years, one that often runs even deeper than misplaced trust: the habit of living to please others, especially family. If you've spent most of your life putting others first, always being the dependable one, the caretaker, the peacemaker, then this message is for you. Because while kindness, loyalty, and generosity are beautiful traits, they can become harmful when they come at the cost of yourself. Have you ever asked yourself, when was the last time I did something just for me? Not for your children, not for your grandchildren, not to avoid conflict or keep everyone else happy, but for your own joy, comfort, or peace of mind? For many older adults, especially parents and grandparents, there's a lifelong pressure to always be available, to keep giving, even when your tank is empty. And while it's natural to care deeply for your family, it becomes unhealthy when your entire identity is wrapped around serving their needs. You begin to feel that your worth is based on what you can still offer: your time, your money, your advice, your presence. But here's the truth that few say out loud. This is not love. It's obligation. And over time, it becomes a prison. You may have noticed it already. That quiet frustration that builds when someone expects your help but never says thank you. That weariness from always saying yes because saying no brings guilt. That deep sadness from realizing you've given so much and received so little recognition in return. And yet the pressure doesn't stop. In fact, it often grows stronger with age. Why? Because people begin to see you as a permanent support system, and unless you set boundaries, they will keep taking. Not necessarily out of malice, but because that's the pattern they're used to. But you have a choice. You don't have to keep proving your worth through self-sacrifice. You've already proven yourself. You've given enough, more than enough. Now is the time to turn your attention inward. What brings you joy? What do you need to feel fulfilled, not as a mother, father, or grandparent, but as a person? This isn't selfish, it's self-preservation. In fact, it's one of the kindest things you can do for yourself in your later years. Because the truth is, no one else will prioritize your well-being unless you do. Yes, your family may resist at first. They might not understand the shift in you, but true love respects boundaries. And if someone is only in your life because of what you can give them, then that's a red flag, not a bond. This doesn't mean you stop loving your family. It means you love them in a healthier way without losing yourself in the process. So start small. Say no when something doesn't feel right. Choose rest over obligation. Invest in your hobbies, your peace, your dreams, even if they've been on hold for years. You are not just a helper, a supporter, or a silent backbone. You are a full human being with needs, hopes, and a right to joy. Don't spend your remaining years trying to earn appreciation that should have been given long ago. Live for yourself now. You've earned it. In the next section, we'll talk about something even more difficult: what to do when the people you need to protect your peace from are the ones closest to you. In the last section, we talked about the importance of breaking free from the lifelong pattern of living to please others, especially family. For many, that message can feel both liberating and deeply uncomfortable. Why? Because the people who most often demand your time, energy, and sacrifices are the ones closest to you, your children, grandchildren, or even your spouse. But what happens when those relationships are not just demanding, but toxic? This is where things get even harder, but even more necessary. Because here's the truth that's difficult to accept. Not all family relationships are healthy, and not all of them are worth holding on to. We've all been told that family is everything, that we must stick together no matter what, that we should forgive, forget, and maintain peace, even if it means swallowing years of mistreatment. But at what cost? How many times have you endured harsh words, emotional manipulation, or disrespect just to keep the peace? How many family gatherings have you walked away from feeling drained, dismissed, or devalued? How many calls have you answered with a heavy heart because you knew what was coming? Criticism, demands, or guilt? We don't talk about it enough, but toxic behavior from family hurts just as much, if not more, than from anyone else. It cuts deeper because it comes from people you've trusted, people you've loved, people you've given your life to. It may be an ungrateful child who only reaches out when they need money, a grandchild who disappears until they want a favor, a sibling who always finds a way to put you down, or even a spouse who treats you with disrespect or emotional neglect. And yet, because they're family, you stay silent, you forgive, you absorb the pain and tell yourself, that's just how they are. But you know what? That's not good enough anymore. Not now. Not at this stage of your life. You've spent decades showing up for others. You've been the reliable one, the strong one, the one who kept things together. And now, in this later chapter of your life, you deserve peace. You deserve kindness. You deserve to be surrounded by people who uplift you, not drain you. Distancing yourself from toxic people doesn't mean you don't love them. It means you love yourself enough to protect your emotional and mental well-being. That might look like setting firmer boundaries, limiting the time you spend with certain family members, or choosing not to engage in conversations that leave you feeling diminished. It might mean saying no more often and not explaining yourself endlessly. And in some cases, it might mean walking away completely. Yes, it's hard. Yes, there may be guilt at first. But ask yourself this: how many more years are you willing to spend being mistreated just because someone shares your last name? Your later years are too precious to waste on pain that can be avoided. Every day matters. Every ounce of peace counts. So let this truth settle in. You are allowed to protect yourself even from family. You are allowed to prioritize your happiness. You are allowed to say, this relationship hurts me and I need space. And if anyone tries to make you feel guilty for that, let their reaction reveal their true intentions. People who truly care about you will respect your need for peace, not punish you for seeking it. In the next section, we'll face another difficult truth, one that many silently carry for years: the pain of waiting for recognition that never comes. And why letting go of that expectation may be the most freeing decision you'll ever make. In the previous section, we faced one of the hardest truths. Sometimes the people we need to protect ourselves from are the very people we've loved the most, our own family. Setting boundaries or even walking away can be painful, but it's also a step toward reclaiming your emotional peace. Now, there's another emotional burden that often follows closely behind toxic relationships: the quiet, constant ache of unrecognized sacrifice. You've likely spent your life giving, not just money or time, but your love, your energy, your patience. You've made choices, big and small, for the sake of others. You've stayed silent when you wanted to speak. You've put others' needs ahead of your own. All because you cared. All because you believed that one day someone would notice, that your sacrifices would be acknowledged, that someone, maybe a child, a spouse, or a sibling, would finally say, "Thank you. I see what you did for me." But that moment often never comes. And the longer you wait for it, the more it hurts. Here's the painful truth. If you tie your self-worth to other people's recognition, you'll spend your life feeling disappointed. Not because your efforts weren't meaningful, but because many people simply don't notice what you've done until it's too late. Some don't have the emotional maturity to express gratitude. Others may feel entitled to your help, and some may not even realize what you've given up for them. But just because they didn't say thank you doesn't mean your sacrifices were meaningless. Your kindness, your loyalty, your endless giving, those things still matter. They help shape lives. They made a difference. They are part of your legacy, whether or not someone else acknowledges it. So how do you begin to heal from the pain of being unappreciated? You let go of the need for external validation. It's not easy, especially when the people closest to you seem to take your love for granted. But when you stop expecting recognition, something incredible happens. You start to find peace in your own heart. You stop waiting for applause and start giving yourself credit for the quiet, powerful strength you've shown throughout your life. Remind yourself, I did what I did because it was right, because I loved, because I chose compassion. That's where your worth comes from, not from someone else's praise, but from the intention behind your actions. As we move forward, remember this. Releasing the expectation of recognition isn't weakness, it's emotional freedom. And in the next section, we'll explore something even more empowering. Why age is never an excuse to stop growing, dreaming, or changing your life for the better. In the last section, we talked about the quiet pain of waiting for recognition that may never come, and the freedom that comes from letting go of that expectation. You've likely given so much to others, often without thanks, and now you're learning to find peace within yourself. But there's one more barrier that often stands in the way of that peace, and it's one many people don't even realize they're holding on to: the belief that it's too late to change. How many times have you heard or said something like, "I'm too old for that. Change is for young people. What's the point now?" These phrases may seem harmless, but over time, they become self-fulfilling. They keep you stuck. They convince you that your best days are behind you and that growth, adventure, or emotional healing are no longer possible. But here's the truth. As long as you are alive, change is possible. And more than that, it's necessary. Think about how much you've already been through in life. The lessons you've learned, the strength you've built, the clarity you now have about what matters. That wisdom isn't a limitation. It's your greatest tool. You're not too old to grow. In fact, you're finally at an age where you can grow with purpose. Too often, people in their later years stop challenging themselves not because they're incapable, but because society tells them they should just settle in and accept things as they are. But you don't have to. You're allowed to make new choices, build healthier habits, let go of old pain, and even start fresh, whether that means changing your daily routine, revisiting a long-lost dream, or setting new boundaries in relationships. It's not about making huge, dramatic changes. It's about believing that you still have the right and the ability to live with intention. Maybe there's a skill you've always wanted to learn, a place you've dreamed of visiting, a conversation you've avoided for years that could bring you peace. Maybe you're realizing that how you've been treated or how you've treated yourself is no longer acceptable. That awareness alone is the beginning of transformation. Change doesn't require youth, it requires courage. And you have more of that than you think. Don't let the number of birthdays you've had convince you that you're stuck. You're not. The past is behind you, but today is still yours. And so is tomorrow. As we move forward, remember this. Your age is not a barrier, it's a doorway. One that opens to a version of yourself that's wiser, stronger, and more free than ever before. In the next section, we'll explore how holding on to the past too tightly can quietly rob you of the beauty and possibility still waiting in the present. In the last section, we confronted a common but limiting belief, the idea that change is no longer possible later in life. But as we discussed, growth doesn't stop with age. In fact, your wisdom and lived experience give you more power to choose how you live from this moment on. Yet even when you're ready to change, there's something that can quietly keep you stuck, holding on too tightly to the past. Let's be honest, there's comfort in the past. There's familiarity in memories, in the way things used to be. You may catch yourself thinking, back then, life made more sense, or those were the good old days. And sometimes it's true. There may have been times of deep love, laughter, and meaning that feel hard to match in the present. But here's the gentle warning. When you live too much in the past, you stop living in the now. Nostalgia can be soothing, even healing. But if you find yourself constantly wishing for days that are long gone, or comparing everything in your present to how it once was, you may be unknowingly robbing yourself of the joy and opportunities that still surround you. The past shaped you. It taught you lessons. It gave you love, loss, triumphs, and regrets. But it's not meant to be your home. It's meant to be a guide, a story you can look back on, not the one you have to keep reliving. Ask yourself, how often do I replay old memories, good or bad, and wish things were different now? Do you ever find yourself saying, things were better when, or if only I could go back? This kind of thinking can slowly become a trap, because when you're focused on what's already gone, you miss the value of what's still here. You stop noticing the small joys that still exist, the sunrise, a good cup of coffee, a meaningful conversation. You close yourself off from new experiences, new people, and yes, even new forms of happiness. And the truth is, some people stay stuck in the past because they're afraid that nothing ahead will ever be as meaningful, afraid to try new things, afraid to move on from people or moments they've loved. But fear is not a reason to stay still. It's a reason to gently push forward, one step at a time. Your life today still has potential. There are still memories to be made, laughter to be had, and peace to be found. But none of that can happen if your heart is always reaching backward. Let yourself grieve what's gone. Honor your past, but don't let it define you. You are more than the sum of your memories. You are also the choices you make now, in this chapter. You might be surprised at what's still possible when you shift your gaze from yesterday to today. Try this. Each morning, name one thing you're grateful for in the present. Each week, try something new, even something small. Let the present surprise you. Let it show you that life didn't stop being beautiful just because it changed. As we move into the final section, we'll talk about something that many find uncomfortable but deeply important. It's a personal topic that, when understood and balanced, can restore emotional connection and inner peace. Don't miss it, it may be the most revealing advice yet. In the previous section, we explored how clinging to the past can quietly rob us of the present. When you live in memories, whether joyful or painful, you close the door to new experiences, new peace, and new meaning. But sometimes it's not just nostalgia that keeps us stuck. Sometimes it's the habits we build to avoid the present entirely. And one of the most overlooked of these habits, especially in later life, is excessive or compulsive private behavior like daily masturbation. Now let's be clear, masturbation in itself is not harmful. In fact, when practiced in moderation, it's a normal and even healthy part of human experience, no matter your age. It can help relieve stress, reduce tension, and provide comfort. But like anything, when it becomes a daily or compulsive habit, especially one rooted in emotional avoidance, it can become something entirely different. Many people use physical pleasure as a substitute for emotional connection. It becomes a temporary escape from loneliness, boredom, sadness, or frustration. And the older we get, the more quietly this pattern can settle into our lives without us even realizing it. It's something we don't talk about, not with friends, not with family. It's private, and in many ways that makes it even harder to confront. But here's the truth. When any behavior becomes a way to avoid life instead of engage with it, it's worth taking a closer look. Ask yourself gently, why do I reach for this habit? Is it because I feel a genuine need for comfort, or am I trying to fill an emotional void? Am I using it to cope with feelings of sadness, isolation, or dissatisfaction that I'm not addressing in other ways? The physical relief may be real, but the emotional emptiness often remains. And over time, that pattern can lead to even deeper feelings of disconnection. What once brought comfort might now feel like a routine that leaves you more isolated than before. This isn't about shame, it's about awareness and balance. You deserve to feel whole, not just momentarily distracted. You deserve emotional fulfillment that lasts longer than a few minutes of relief. You deserve connection with yourself, with others, with your deeper purpose. So what can you do? First, try to reflect without judgment. Recognize the pattern for what it is, a signal, not a failure. If you're turning to a physical habit to soothe emotional discomfort, that discomfort is asking to be heard. Then look for other ways to nourish yourself emotionally. That might mean starting a new hobby, joining a community group, volunteering, spending time in nature, or reaching out to someone you trust. Even quiet moments like journaling, prayer, meditation, or a gentle walk can help you reconnect with life in a meaningful way. When you give your mind and body a variety of ways to find comfort and expression, you naturally reduce the need to lean so heavily on any one outlet. And again, this is not about eliminating all pleasure. It's about bringing your life back into balance. It's about making sure your private habits support your well-being rather than isolate you from it. As we close this video, take a moment to reflect on all we've covered. Trusting wisely, protecting your peace, letting go of the past, choosing growth, and living with intention, even in the most private parts of your life. You are still capable of change. You are still worthy of joy, and you are still writing your story. Let the next chapter be one of clarity, courage, and deeper connection with yourself and with the life you have now. One of the most meaningful lessons from this content is the power of reclaiming your life emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, no matter your age. As we grow older, it becomes easier to fall into patterns of overgiving, waiting for recognition, or clinging to the past, often believing it's too late to change. But the truth is, your later years are not a time of limitation. They are a time of clarity. You've earned the right to set boundaries, to stop pleasing everyone else, and to start prioritizing your own peace. Letting go of toxic people, harmful habits, and the need for external validation can feel difficult at first, but it is also deeply freeing. You are not defined by your sacrifices, your memories, or your age. You are defined by the strength you have right now to choose differently. Whether it's seeking joy in new ways, reconnecting with your purpose, or learning to value your own company, every day you are alive is a day filled with potential. Don't be afraid to protect your well-being, embrace change, and live more fully. You deserve a life that honors your journey, respects your heart, and allows you to grow even in the quietest, most personal ways. Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Please share in the comments one insight you gained and how you plan to apply it in your life. Your feedback is invaluable and keeps us motivated. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your support enables us to continue creating content that informs and inspires. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.